The courtroom was silent, thick with tension. Every eye was on the defendant's table, where a man in an orange jumpsuit sat, his hands cuffed together. He was a well-known figure in the city, a powerful businessman who had long operated above the law. But today, he wasn't in a boardroom. He was on trial, and the stakes were higher than ever. Across the room, near the prosecutor's table, Officer Ryan Callahan leaned back in his chair, arms crossed over his chest. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself with the arrogance of someone who thought he owned the place. His uniform was crisp, his badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. He had testified just moments ago, his words carrying weight in the case. To him, this was an open and shut situation. Another criminal about to be locked away. Another day. Another win for the so-called justice system. And then the courtroom door opened. A woman stepped inside, heels clicking against the polished floor. She walked with quiet confidence, her back straight, her chin lifted. She wasn't dressed like a typical witness. No nervous glances, no hesitance in her step. Instead, she carried herself like she owned the room. And yet, Callahan's smirk grew as he took in the sight of her. She was black, well-dressed, but unremarkable in his eyes. Probably a public defender or a last-minute witness for the defense. He barely acknowledged her, turning his attention back to his notes, waiting for the judge to move things along. But the murmurs in the courtroom told a different story. Whispers rippled through the audience, a few gasps breaking the quiet. The prosecutor shifted uncomfortably, suddenly sitting up straighter. The judge adjusted his glasses, studying the woman closely. And the man in the jumpsuit, he looked like he had just seen a ghost. The woman didn't flinch at the reaction. She walked right up to the witness stand and took a seat. "State your name for the record," the judge said. The woman folded her hands in front of her, looking directly at Callahan before speaking. "Special Agent Maya Cole, FBI." The smirk on Callahan's face disappeared instantly. The room fell into a stunned silence. A beat passed, then another. Maya didn't look away. She could see it happening. The shift in his expression, the way his confidence wavered. He had walked into this courtroom believing he had everything under control. But now, for the first time, he was realizing he didn't. Because she wasn't just another witness. She was the one who had been watching him. And now, it was her turn to speak. The silence in the courtroom stretched, thick and suffocating. Officer Ryan Callahan sat frozen in place, his smirk now replaced by something else. Something he wasn't used to feeling. Unease. Maybe even fear. The name Maya Cole didn't ring a bell, but the words before it did. Special Agent. FBI. His mind raced as he tried to piece it together. Was she really FBI? And if she was, why was she here? Why hadn't anyone mentioned her before? Callahan was sure he had this case wrapped up, sure that his testimony had sealed the defendant's fate. But now, this woman had walked in like she had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Maya sat calmly in the witness chair, her face unreadable. Her posture was steady, her hands resting lightly on the edge of the stand. There was something about her presence that made people uneasy. Not because she was loud or aggressive, but because she didn't have to be. Power radiated from her, in a way that made even the most confident men shift in their seats. The judge cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. "Agent Cole," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "I assume you're here on official business?" "Yes, Your Honor," Maya replied smoothly. Her voice was clear, controlled. "I'm here to provide testimony relevant to this case." Callahan leaned forward slightly, his fingers tightening around the edge of the table. He had given plenty of testimonies before, had been in courtrooms like this more times than he could count. But something about this, about her, felt different. The defense attorney, a man named Jonathan Price, rose to his feet, trying to keep his face neutral. But Callahan caught the way his jaw tensed, the slight shift in his stance. He was nervous. Why was he nervous? Agent Cole. Price began, choosing his words carefully. I wasn't aware that the FBI was involved in this case. When exactly did you begin your investigation? Maya's lips curled slightly, but it wasn't quite a smile. More like a hint of amusement. The FBI has been involved for quite some time, she answered, tilting her head slightly. We just haven't made our presence known until now. That sent another ripple of whispers through the courtroom. Callahan's heartbeat quickened. That didn't make sense. He had been on this case for months. He had been one of the lead officers on the investigation, working with the prosecution to put the defendant away. If the FBI had been involved, he would have known. Wouldn't he? His gaze flickered to the prosecutor, but the man looked just as stunned as everyone else. That meant he hadn't known either. The judge rapped his gavel lightly. Let's keep this orderly, he said, though his eyes were still locked on Maya with the same curiosity everyone else had. Agent Cole, please explain the nature of your involvement. Maya exhaled slowly, as if deciding how much to reveal. Then, she turned her gaze directly toward Callahan. The FBI has been running a parallel investigation, she said. One that extends beyond the defendant. The word sent a chill through Callahan's spine. Beyond the defendant. What did that mean? He forced himself to keep his expression neutral, but inside, his stomach twisted. He had been sure of himself just moments ago, but now, he felt something shift, something dangerous. Maya continued, this case isn't just about one man. It's about a network, and some of the people connected to it are sitting in this very courtroom. For the first time, Callahan felt his confidence crack. A murmur spread across the room like wildfire. The judge banged his gavel, calling for silence, but it didn't matter. The energy had changed. The entire direction of the trial had just shifted. Maya kept her gaze locked on Callahan for just a moment longer, before turning back to the judge, her expression cool. I'm prepared to present my findings, she said. But I should warn you. This case is bigger than anyone realized. Callahan's throat went dry. He had walked into this courtroom thinking this would be just another day, just another win. But now, he wasn't so sure. Because for the first time in his career, he wasn't sure which side of the courtroom he really belonged on.